Big buck country. Pre-season scouting has easily become one of my favorite parts about hunting. There is so much anticipation leading up to the hunt, and you just never know what you're going to find. Trying a new area out this year. First scouting trip of the year, and it was a success. We saw a bunch of bucks, a whole pile of them. Like 50 bucks, I'd say, and like 80 or 100 deer. We saw quite a few deer, which is a pretty good sign after the winter we just had. So, pretty good and productive scouting trip. We probably will do a few more and then decide where we want to be on opening day. The recipe for finding big bucks is climbing big mountains. We spent most of the summer hitting different vantage points throughout the high country in our unit, trying to learn the terrain and find the honey hole of giant bucks. Pretty good push in here. 3,200 feet later. 10 o'clock at night. Started at 6. Smoked. another really good scouting trip in the books. Man, last night was a grind, gaining 3,200 feet of elevation off trail, and I was just feeling like crap this morning when I woke up. I felt nauseated and had a headache. I don't know if it was the altitude or just exhaustion, but either way I was smoked. But it was all worth it. We found the biggest buck that we've seen this summer and some other really nice bucks in the same basin. So I think this is probably where we're gonna hunt, but I'm not 100% yet. We still got a couple weeks to decide. Might check out a couple more spots. We're less than a week out from the opener, and I thought I'd come back in here and check out some of these bucks and see how they finished out. Just did a little overnight scouting trip up in this spot. I haven't been up here since early July, and those bucks were looking nice then, but a few of them have finished out really nice. I actually packed in 12 liters of water with me just in case I liked what I saw this morning, and I definitely like what I see, so I'm glad I did. Now I'm set up. I can just leave my camp here, and I have 12 liters of water, and I can pack in a few more liters with me when I pack in for the hunt. But now I'm sitting pretty for the hunt. I also saw one other buck that I have not seen before on my way in yesterday, and he is an absolute stud. I would love to get a stalk in on that buck. He's just real heavy, good forks, and just a huge body, just a super mature deer. So that's the kind of buck I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily chasing numbers up here. I just want to get a mature buck, so that's the goal. Alright, this is what we've been waiting all year for. The bow hunt's finally here. Let's go kill a buck. On our way in, we ran into a group of deer in the same spot where I saw the 4-point less than a week ago. We decided to put a stalk on the deer in hopes that the 4-point was with them. After getting to within bow range of the deer, we determined that the buck was not with the group, and we continued up the mountain to our base camp. Alright, we were finally able to get out of the tents. It's been pretty much raining all day, Rained all night last night, finally let up, and now it's just super windy, but we've just been working this ridge line trying to find a buck. It's late in the afternoon. It's Tuesday, the hunt opens Saturday, but I wasn't able to hike in till yesterday. So we've got till Sunday to try to kill a buck. Just gotta find one first, and hopefully he beds in a good spot and we can make a play on him. As we made our way down the ridge line, we spotted a big buck feeding in the bottom of the basin with a group of other bucks. We were able to use the contour of the terrain to close the distance between us and the bucks. Unfortunately, another buck picked us off as we were getting to within bow range, and the jig was up. Well, that didn't work out. It almost worked, but as soon as we were getting to this little knob right here, we were right about where I was standing, right where I'm standing right now, and a buck popped up right over here. We just didn't see him till it was too late. He had us pegged like 40 yards. We were just waiting him out, but I don't think he was really a buck that we wanted to shoot anyways, and he was frontal, so what? Good first day back in here. It's good to know that we can get close to these things. I agree.
That time it didn't line up. One little thing.
Been a pretty eventful morning so far. We had 14 bucks down in the bottom of this basin. They were in one giant group together. Then they split up into two different groups. We lost track of the one group because we were watching the group that had the bigger buck in it. And they ended up bedding down here in this gully. Looks like it's a pretty good play. I think we can have a blind stalk coming in on them. They're just down in the bottom of this gully, and we can use the terrain to get above them and then peek down in on them. We should be within bow range. Well, we dropped down into this basin after these bucks, and they ended up getting up right as we were getting to within bow range of them. And they just started working their way up onto this bench, and then for no reason at all, they just spooked. We have no idea what happened. They did not wind us, they did not see us, they did not smell us, they did not hear us. I don't know what they did. They just took off for no reason. So, pretty disheartening, but we're gonna hike out of this basin and go find some other bucks to play with. Success doesn't come easy. I'm always reminded of that when I have to hike out of a deep basin after a stalk that has ended in failure. just had a big storm roll through. Now we just started running this ridge line down, and we can see down into the basin that we stalked those bucks in earlier. And sure enough, we spotted the same bucks, and they're right down in pretty much the exact same spot, so they must have not spooked very far or just J-hooked around, and now they're right back to where we left them basically. But it's a good sign. Now we know there's at least those bucks for morning. We'll probably try a little bit different strategy and try hiking down this ridge line, see if we can't find some other big bucks. Smells pretty good.
We're both eating
Smells like
peas.
chicken pot pie, dude.
We're both eating peas and carrots tonight.
Alright, it's day 3 out here. We've just been working this ridge line all morning. We spotted some bucks way across this big basin. Nothing big enough to go all the way over there for. Then we finally got down here to one of the last basins that looks good, and we spotted a buck. He's just bedded down here. He's in a pretty good spot. Mike's gonna go make a play on him. Well, that stalk did not work out for Mike. That buck got up out of his bed and just started working up the hill. And Mike was actually in a really good spot because that buck came right up to him. But he just did not have any shooting lanes. And right as the buck was getting to within bow range, it just started like running at Mike. And then it got to like 10 yards, and all Mike could see was his head and his rack. And so he had no shot at 10 yards. And that's when the buck pegged him and ended up busting. Pretty unfortunate, but still a pretty cool experience to have. I mean, that's why we do it. That's why we come up here into the high country to bow hunt these things, is to have those kinds of experiences. So it's not a total loss. Good memories are made. We just looked down into this basin and found a freaking warlord. We're gonna have to wait till morning to stalk him, because the thermal's already starting to go downhill and he's down at the bottom of this basin. So hopefully we can relocate him in the morning. Well, the morning just kind of blew up on us. We were watching that big buck all morning, and he ended up going into this thick patch of trees and kind of lost track of him. And then I don't know what happened, but something spooked him, and he split off from the other bucks that he was with. One of the bucks ran down towards me in the bottom of this basin, and then the big one ran way down to the bottom of the basin where it's too thick to glass. So probably not going to get a stalk on him today. Well, I've just been running this ridge line all afternoon and finally found some familiar faces that I haven't seen since scouting. So that was cool. I'm hoping I can relocate him in the morning. There's a really wide 4-point, probably like 26, 27 inches wide. And then a really tall 4-point, like 17, 18 inch G2s. They're both studs. I'd take either one, so hopefully I can find him in the morning. Well, my heart just sank in my chest because I just spotted another hunter, and he's clearly watching the bucks that I'm watching. There's always something. It is Saturday, so it was to be expected, but I'm like 5-6 miles in here, so I didn't think it would matter. I haven't seen a soul in here yet, especially on that ridge where he's at. That's deflating. Well, good news, that hunter didn't have a bow and he just hiked out, so I should have this place to myself. And I just bedded one of the big 4-points in a pretty good spot. He's bedded with a 4x5 that's a little bit smaller than him. Not really interested in the 4x5, but I am interested in the big 4. So I'm gonna go make a play on him and see if I can get within bow range of him. I'm just dropping in on those bucks now. Well, I got in tight on those bucks, got to 45 yards while they were bedded, and that big tall 4-point ended up bedding with them. So my focus shift from the other 4-point onto him, and I actually passed on the other 4-point multiple times, had him feed out at 50 yards, was broadside a couple times. Definitely could have shot him. But I thought that big buck would feed out, and then I just kept checking on him, and then all of a sudden he was just gone. I don't know what happened to him. The other 2 bucks were still there feeding, and he must have just slipped out and like just hugged against the cliff bands that were below me, because I did not see him at all, which just blows my mind because I thought for sure I had him dead to rights. I thought for sure he was going to feed out and I was going to put an arrow through him at 45, 50 yards. Super frustrating. Well, it didn't take long to spot the bucks this morning, and then I just watched the big tall 4-point bed down. So it looks like he's in a pretty good spot, but he'll probably get up and rebed. That's what they typically do. So I'm just gonna wait him out and see what he does for the next couple hours and then start my approach. That buck bedded in a pretty good spot, so I'm making my way over there. Should be a pretty high percentage stock. Well, hopefully I didn't just blow the whole stock. I just had a small 2-point at like 40 yards. Freaking spooked him, and then I spooked another group of deer right before that. But they're in this next shoot over. I hope he didn't just run over the ridge and spook the big buck though. Gosh dang it. I can still see the buck. He's at maybe like 150 yards right now. I'm gonna drop my boots, switch into my stockasins, and I'm gonna sneak up. I'm kind of level with him right now, so might have to cut up the hill a little, get above him. Well, as soon as I dropped my boots, I spotted another buck between me and the big buck. And I didn't think it would be an issue because he was tucked behind a log and there was a fold between me and the bucks. So I kept stalking, got to like right where I wanted to stop stalking, right at the end of the fold. And as soon as I started peeking over the fold, saw the big buck 94 yards away. Had no idea I was there. And then for whatever reason, the small buck, who had to have been at like 50 yards, just spooked. There's no way he could have seen me, heard me, or smelled me. I have no idea why he spooked. I wasn't making any noise. I wasn't moving. The wind was good. I do not understand what happened. But I guess I'll just chalk it up to the sixth sense of these mule deer. Good God, these things are freaking impossible to kill. Ugh. Feel like I've been punched in the gut. Feel like that was my last good opportunity. Might be going home empty-handed without a buck. Kind of regretting passing on that buck yesterday. Never pass up what the mountain gives you. You'll just live with regret. Dang it. Alright guys, I've got 3 bucks in the cliffs behind me. One of them is the buck that I passed yesterday, and he's running with his buddy, the 4x5, and then a new buck, a 3x4 that I haven't seen before. And they're starting to work down into the bottom of the basin, so I'm going to see if I can go cut them off. Well, that almost worked. Got right into position. Those bucks were working right to me. I thought for sure they were just going to feed over this little ridge, but they kind of disappeared and I didn't see them, so I backed out. Probably would have got winded anyways, but good news is that I didn't spook them. So hopefully I can relocate at least those bucks in the morning. Found the big buck. Just need him to bed in a good spot. That hillside that he keeps bedding on is so difficult to stalk on. There's just loose rock everywhere. Thick aspen saplings. Deadfall. It looks like it would be a good hill for stalking, but once you're on it, it is very hard to stay quiet. Well, those bucks put themselves in a horrible spot, so I'm gonna go see if I can't find that 3x4 that's been bedding in that other basin. If I can't find him, then I'm just gonna go sneak in on those bucks and try to still hunt them, I guess. Hopefully spot them before they spot me, but they're in a pretty tough spot. And I don't know exactly where they're bedded, but I know their general locations, so it's kind of a last ditch effort. This is my last day in here, so gonna see what I can do. Alright, I peeked down into that basin and spotted a 3x4. It's not the same 3x4 that I've been seeing. It's actually the same 3x4 from yesterday that was over in this other basin that was with the other buck that I passed and the 4x5. And he worked his way over here. But I'm not really sure if I want to shoot him, but he's in a pretty good spot, so I'm gonna go see if I can get on him and then maybe make a decision if I can. 68 yards, angle compensated, 80 yards line of sight. I'm just gonna wait for him to get up and start feeding. If he feeds within bow range, I'll shoot him. If not, oh well. Well, worst case scenario happened. I wounded that buck. God dang it. Had him at 35 yards broadside, right underneath me on these cliffs. It's aimed for 35, so probably like shoot for 50. Shot, somehow either missed or got a clean pass through. I'm pretty sure I missed, because I just heard it hit rocks. Then the buck took a few steps and I re-ranged him. He was at 40, knocked another arrow, set my sight, and this time he was steep quartering away, but I could see like the whole top of his back, and I just figured I could make that shot right into his back. And so I attempted that shot, released, my arrow sailed to the right and hit him right in front of his hindquarter, blowing right through his guts and hopefully up into his liver and lung. I am just sick to my stomach right now. That is not how I wanted that to go. But the only good news is I watched the buck run out into the open basin and stand there for a minute. And there was a good amount of blood that was pooling up underneath him. So he's losing blood, but makes me sick. That is not the kind of shot that I want to put on a buck. These things deserve so much more than that. I have so much love and respect for mule deer, and to just wound one like that just makes me absolutely sick. Just praying he dies in the next hour or two. Well, it's been 2 hours. I found the buck. He's just bedded. He doesn't look like he's doing too good, so I'm stalking down in here, hoping to get another arrow in him. Jeez. I hate watching these things suffer. They do not deserve that. But here's where I shot from, up on those cliffs. And he was standing right about where I'm at. 35 yards for the first shot, 40 for the second shot. That's the angle compensated distance. There's probably more like a 50-yard shot and then a 55-yard shot. Super makeable shot. I don't know what happened. Maybe I just had buck fever, or maybe I didn't level my third axis bubble. I don't know. I could have sworn I leveled my bubble. I don't know. Poor execution either way. As luck would have it, I followed the blood trail and found him dead in his bed. every hunt is harder than it looks. Jeez, I'm reminded every year I do this just how difficult it is to get a mature mule deer in the backcountry. These things are just always on high alert. I have so much respect for these animals. Can't believe what a horrible shot I made, but I'm super happy I got this buck and I get to take him home to feed my family. It means a lot to me. I hated watching him suffer. That was one of the hardest things I've done. But I think I made the right call just letting him die in his bed. I think if I would have bumped him, who knows what would have happened, but either way, I think he would have died. It was just whether I was going to find him or not. So glad I was able to recover him, and he's a sweet buck. Good way to top off this hunt. Is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. Oh, it doesn't get easier. I swear, no matter how many pack cuts I've done, they all seem to suck equally.